Ancient Egyptian symbols are generally associated with gods, life, love, and death. Egypt's famous symbols represented divine power, immortality, reincarnation, and healing, or were emblematic of authority figures. You can instantly recognize Egyptian symbols when you see them. These symbols are depicted in human-made artifacts of ancient Egyptian art and in remains found in tombs, temples, hieroglyphs, and papyrus manuscripts of ancient Egypt. So let's begin to unravel the secrets behind these mysterious symbols. The ANKH. The ANKH, known in Latin as crux ansata, meaning handled cross, is one of the most commonly used symbols in ancient Egypt, symbolizing life and immortality. Additionally, it represents the union between the male and female, symbolizing Osiris, the god of the underworld and the dead, and Isis, the goddess of earth, fertility, and magic, which symbolizes the fertility brought by the flooding of the Nile. Therefore, the symbol is also known as the key of the Nile. In addition to these meanings, it also signifies concepts such as purification, giving life force to water, and the ability to see the hidden, leading to names like the key to the underworld or the key to immortality. It is possible to infer that gods and goddesses depicted holding this symbol in the center of their foreheads are initiates who can see the hidden, possess clairvoyance, and hold life-giving power. The Eye of Horus. The Eye of Horus, also known as Wadjet or Ujat, symbolizes protection, healing, health, and noble power. It is also known as a symbol of the moon. It represents the left eye of Horus. Looking at the mythological origin of the symbol, it is said that during the conflict between Horus and Seth, following the murder of Osiris by Seth, Seth gouged out Horus's left eye. Later, with the help of magic from Hathor or Thoth, Horus's left eye was healed, and Horus dedicated this eye to his father Osiris to bring him back to life. Therefore, this symbol also represents sacrifice. In addition, there are explanations suggesting that this symbol provides a mathematical representation of the idea of a single creator. According to this explanation, fractions are written representing the halves of a whole within the empty parts of the symbol, and when all these fractions are summed, 63/64 is obtained, but never reaching 64/64, which is one itself. This is because only the Creator is the one that is one. The Eye of Re. This symbol represents the right eye of Horus and is named the Eye of Ra. Additionally, in Egyptian mythology, it is depicted as a personified reflection of many goddesses such as Wadjet, Hathor, Mut, Sekhmet, and Bastet. Since Ra is the sun god in Egyptian mythology, this symbol also represents the sun. The similarity of the symbol to the pineal gland, also known as the third eye, has been a topic of frequent discussion in recent times. Understanding why the symbol resembles the pineal gland becomes easier when considering the belief that the pineal gland serves as the center for human spiritual connection and clairvoyant abilities in the realm of emotions. SCARABAEUS. In ancient Egyptian religion, it is observed that the sun god Ra rolls across the sky every day, transforming bodies and souls. Scarabs, also known as dung beetles, roll dung to turn it into food and create a nesting chamber where they will deposit their eggs. This way, the larvae hatch and immediately find food around them. For these reasons, the scarab was seen as a symbol of this sacred cycle and the idea of rebirth or renewal. The Egyptian god Khepri is often depicted as a dung beetle, or a man with the head of a dung beetle. Ancient Egyptians believed that Khepri renewed the sun before it rolled across the horizon and carried it to the other world when it set, renewing it again the next day. The DJED column. The Jed column, also known as the backbone of Osiris, was a symbol representing power and stability in ancient Egyptian culture. It is associated with the creator god Ptah and Osiris, the god of the underworld and the dead. Although initially known as a symbol of Ptah, the cult of Osiris eventually adopted the DJED column symbol. The term backbone of Osiris derives from this association. The Egyptians believed that the DJED column was actually a combination of 4 pillars holding up the 4 corners of the world. The DJED column was commonly used as an amulet for both the living and the dead. It was placed as an amulet near the spine of mummified bodies to facilitate the resurrection of the dead and ensure eternal life for the deceased. The Book of the Dead of Egypt lists spells that, when recited over a gold amulet hung around the neck of a mummy, enable the spine of the mummy to be used again and to sit up. The DJED column was also drawn on coffins. TYET, Knot of Isis. The TYET, also known as the Knot of Isis or Isis's blood, is an ancient Egyptian symbol closely resembling the ANKH. Its meaning is interpreted similarly to the ANKH, often symbolizing life. Primarily associated with the goddess Isis, this symbol resembles the ANKH, except for its downward turned arms. Its meaning is often associated with well-being or life, reminiscent of the ANKH from this perspective as well. The TYET resembles a knotted cloth and may have originally been a bandage used for menstrual blood. OUROBOROS, Infinity Serpent. This symbol is one of the representations of the sun in ancient Egypt, as it narrates the journey of Aten, which is a reflection of the sun disk and the sun god Ra. It also symbolizes rebirth and continuity. This symbol, described in the ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead as the serpent devouring its own tail or the serpent swallowing its own tail, is associated with Atum, the first god to emerge from the chaotic waters of Nun, symbolizing the primordial waters of creation. This symbol also represents infinity due to its depiction of an endless cycle. The origin of the horizontal 8-shaped symbol used today is based on the OUROBOROS. AKHET. This symbol represents the horizon where the sun rises and sets. Thus, the sunrise and sunset are concretized and imbued with meaning through the horizon. The central sun disk is surrounded by the peaks of a mountain symbol called Ju, and the beginning and end of each day are guarded by the god ANKH, depicted as a pair of lions. In the New Kingdom period of ancient Egypt, HORUS of the horizon, became the god of the rising and setting sun. This god was symbolized by a sphinx with the head of a falcon and the body of a lion. The Great Sphinx at Giza is an example of this. AMENTA. The AMENTA symbol was originally used to represent the horizon where the sun sets. Over time, it became a symbol of the west bank of the Nile River. The west bank of the Nile River was also the place where the Egyptians buried their dead. Therefore, the symbolism of AMENTA began to represent the underworld, the realm of the dead. Ka soul symbol. The word Ka in ancient Egypt means soul and symbolizes the first breath breathed into babies by the goddess HEKA. According to the ancient Egyptians, Ka is the part of a person that never dies and remains immortal as long as it finds a body to inhabit. One of the reasons why ancient Egyptians mummified their dead was their continuous efforts to provide life for their Ka. They believed that if a person was not mummified upon death, or if the mummy was damaged, they would never attain eternal life. Bia is always depicted as a human-headed bird. It can be seen hovering above the dead bodies of mummies or entering and leaving tombs at will. The word Ba can be directly translated as soul or spirit, but it probably refers more accurately to the spiritual body. Ba was believed to be a part of the human body and would emerge at the moment of death. It later assumes the role of the soul and personality of the deceased. There was a complex belief system regarding how the human body and soul were formed, and Ba played a significant role in this system. MAAT'S feather. The feather of Maat is the symbol of justice in ancient Egypt. Maat herself is the goddess of justice in ancient Egyptian mythology. In depictions of the afterlife in ancient Egypt, it is shown that when a person arrives in the underworld, known as the duat, their heart is placed on one side of the scale by Anubis, and the feather of Maat is placed on the other side. If the person's heart weighs heavier than the feather, it indicates that they were a wicked person in life, and their heart is devoured by the goddess AMENTA, who is known as the devourer of souls, condemning the individual to remain in the underworld forever. On the other hand, if the person's heart weighs equal to or lighter than the feather, it signifies that they lived a righteous life and they are granted entry into Aaru, the paradise ruled by Osiris, where they will reside for eternity. HEKA and NEKHAKHA. In ancient Egyptian culture, the shepherd's crook and the flail were symbols originally associated with the characteristics of the god Osiris, which eventually became symbols of the pharaoh's authority. The shepherd's crook, known as HEKA, represented kingship, while the flail, known as NEKHAKHA, symbolized the fertility of the land and its ability to sustain life. Although the depictions of the crook and flail were initially separate, they later became almost inseparable. The pharaoh would hold one of these items in each hand and cross them over his chest. Upon ascending to power, the pharaoh would carry the crook and flail in public places. These items remained with the pharaoh until his death and were buried together with each ruler. These symbols not only help us understand the belief system, rituals, and worldview of ancient Egypt, but they also remain fascinating and meaningful today. The profound meanings and mythological origins of ancient Egyptian symbols reflect existential questions and universal themes of humanity. These symbols serve as carriers of wisdom and understanding, passed down from the past to the present. Examining and understanding them provides an important window to explore the richness and depth of ancient Egyptian culture.